One of the 7 characteristics of living things is that they regulate their internal environment. In this unit we're going to learn how the cell membrane goes about helping regulate what goes into and out of a cell. One of the keys to controlling what goes into and out of a cell is the actual structure of the cell. The cell is made up of what we call a phospholipid bilayer. That's phosphorus, lipid, and bi means there are 2 layers. The phosphate group is our hydrophilic end. That's the side that likes water because it's a polar molecule. The lipid end is the hydrophobic end, and that's because it is non-polar. It's the combination of these 2 things that helps control what goes in and out, and also make sure that the cell membrane does not dissolve in water, because that would be a big problem. So once again, the 2 layers make up the bilayer. Here's a picture of a simple phospholipid. If you look on the right here, here's your phosphorus, and this is your lipid on this end of it. We learned about before, lipids tend to be carbon and hydrogen tails there, and you can see there's all the carbons and hydrogens all along there, and that is non-polar end. And the non-polar end is our simplified, just drawn with 2 tails, and it is hydrophobic, water fearing. The phosphate end is the polar end. You can see the charge that it has there, and this is our hydrophilic end. So this is the side that's going to be in contact with the water. Here's what it looks like in action. This is your phosphorus end, which is your hydrophilic end. Here's your 2 lipids facing each other because they're both nonpolar. Those are your hydrophobic ends. And then once again on the other side here, the hydrophilic end. So you've got the hydrophilic end and 2 tails typically running off of the phosphorus. This could be the inside of the cell down here, and this is the outside, and they are able to control the flow of things moving in and out. Here's an ionic particle that wants to go in, something that's polar, and you can see this hydrophobic end kind of blocks it off. The cell membrane isn't particularly homogeneous throughout, but you can see once again here's your phosphate with your hydrophobic ends to the tails, and we have other molecules as well. You can see there's some sugars here. This is what we call a carrier protein, which we'll talk about later because it can allow larger molecules to flow through, and all sorts of things. But generally you have the 2 layers. There's 1 layer, there's another layer, the hydrophobic ends, and our hydrophilic ends with the phosphates.